Yemen's Houthi rebels unilaterally freed 153 war detainees Saturday, the International Committee of the Red Cross said, one of several overtures in recent days to ease tensions after the ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war in the Gaza Strip. According to Associated Press, previous prisoner releases have been viewed as a means to jumpstart talks over permanently ending Yemen's decade-long war, which began when the Houthis seized the country's capital, Sanaa, in 2014. However, the Houthis' release comes just after they detained another 7 Yemeni workers from the United Nations, sparking anger from the world body. Those released previously had been visited by Red Cross staff in Sanaa and received medical checks and other assistance, the organization said while announcing the release. One released prisoner, Mohammed Khatun al-Idrisi, said, "I am very happy to be released from prison. I spent 6 years there, and I thank everyone who contributed to our release from captivity." The Red Cross has helped oversee other prisoner releases, including one that saw some 1,000 prisoners swapped in 2020, over 800 detainees exchanged in 2023 and another release in 2024. The war in Yemen has killed more than 150,000 people, including fighters and civilians, and created one of the world's worst humanitarian disasters, killing tens of thousands more.
نحن هنا اللجنة الدولية للصليب الأحمر بطلب من اللجنة الوطنية للأسرى لتسهيل الإفراج عن 153 محتجز. سبق وأن عملنا مقابلات خاصة معهم للتأكد من هوياتهم وأنهم على اتصال مع عائلاتهم وأنهم مستعدين للسفر برا للعودة إلى مساكنهم.
مبادرة واسعة للعفو والإفراج عن 153 أسيرا من أسرى الطرف الآخر ممن تم أسرهم في جبهات القتال، وهم من جبهات متعددة ومن محافظات متعددة، وهي مبادرة أحادية الجانب من طرف واحد.
فرحة عامرة بخروجي وتحريري من السجن، وقضيت 6 سنوات، وأشكر كل من ساهم في تحريرنا من الأسر، على رأسهم السيد عبد الملك بن بدر الدين الحوثي، وأشكر الصليب الأحمر على تعاونه وتجاوبه معنا.
A compromise between Ukraine and Russia, which Washington is now seeking, is impossible. There are no prerequisites for a peace agreement, and this means that Russian dictator Vladimir Putin will start raising the stakes. Russian analyst Anatoly Nesmian writes about this. The new US President Trump has already issued an ultimatum to Putin, demanding that he immediately stop the war against Ukraine. Otherwise, the American leader warned, Russia will face very tough sanctions pressure. Murid is confident that Russia will soon have to feel these sanctions since Putin is unable to end the aggression. Trump is a very decisive person, so the promised sanctions will definitely come, and such that they could become a systemic problem for the Russian economy, which is strained to the limit, wrote the RF blogger. After that, Putin will probably try to break the deadlock by raising the stakes. He is unable to turn the tide on the battlefield in Ukraine, which means he will try to attack a third country. According to Russian analysts, the threat looms over Moldova and the Baltic states. There are a number of problems with Moldova, but the main thing is that it is not a NATO member, and here it is important to go all in. The seizure of the Baltics is a defeat for NATO, since in the event of a blitzkrieg, NATO simply will not have time to respond. If, of course, Riga, Tallinn, Vilnius, in 3 days takes place, the Russian blogger writes. He stated that Putin has nothing left to lose, and this greatly increases the risks. A blitzkrieg, he believes, would create new opportunities for Putin. It would allow him to resolve the Ukraine issue within the framework of large-scale security negotiations with the West. Trump, Russian analyst believes, will freeze out from this story and suggests that Europe itself deal with the threat posed by Russia. If sanctions are introduced, the risk of a sharp escalation outside the Russian-Ukrainian conflict increases significantly, the Russian blogger stated. North Korea will send a new group of troops to fight against Ukraine within the next 2 months. The New York Times reported, citing a senior U.S. Defense Department official. The publication compiled a picture of how North Koreans are acting in the battlefield in the Kursk region of Russia, where the Ukrainian Defense Forces operation is ongoing. To do this, journalists talked to Ukrainian servicemen and commanders participating in direct battles with DPRK soldiers, as well as military analysts and 4 Pentagon representatives. North Korean soldiers are given their own patch of ground to attack. Unlike the Russians, they advance with little or no armor support. When they attack, they don't stop to regroup or retreat, as the Russians often do when they start taking heavy losses. Instead, they move through mine-strewn fields under heavy fire and send out a wave of 40 or more soldiers, the publication says. It is also stated that when the North Koreans capture a position, they do not try to consolidate it, leaving this task to Russian reinforcements. They themselves retreat and prepare for a new attack. The North Koreans essentially operate as a separate fighting force with distinct language, training and military culture, Ukrainian military and US officials say. In part, these are 2 different armies that have never trained or operated together. Celeste A. Wallander, a former Assistant Secretary of the Pentagon for International Security Affairs. The North Koreans, she said, were special forces trained for precision strikes, while the Russians had mostly used them as infantry. As Ukrainian Commander Andrei noted, the DPRK soldiers are suffering many losses, but continue to send new units into attacks. Just forward, forward, it's motivation, orders and strict discipline. It feels like they came here specifically to die, and they know it. He added that the North Koreans should not be underestimated. According to him, they had no combat experience before, but now they are acquiring it and are becoming very strong. The shock brigade tactic, where soldiers advance without worrying about the chaos that awaits them, is widely used in North Korean military training and propaganda. According to South Korean intelligence officials, the strategy, adopted from the Korean War, has resulted in numerous casualties, but the DPRK will consider these losses a necessary price for improving its skills in modern warfare, the publication says.